Welcome to the Warren Cycling Podcast. My name is Dean Warren. I'm in Sarasota, Florida today.
And I'm Randy Warren, and I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah, this is episode 325 of the Warren Cycling Podcast. I had a little break. We haven't talked yet since the start, since before the start of the Giro d'Italia, and wow, so much has happened. I was listening to the commentators today, and they were reflecting back on an earlier stage when I think the Iola Cometa rider won, and saying, it seems like ages ago. I thought, well, yeah, it seems like ages. It's been a long time. So, and wow, I don't know where to start because the race is going on right now. Stage 19, still three riders
which they're calling it the Queen Stage. So,
yeah, well, I mean, today and then the time trial tomorrow will definitely be deciding the overall general classification with three riders, packed in the top, within 30 seconds of each other. So, I mean, going into it, we had Primož Roglic and Remco Evenepoel as the big favorites. But wow, Geraint Thomas, man, it's so impressive. And then João Almeida as well, too, very impressive. Roglic not as impressive now. And Evenepoel, of course, he looked like he could have run away with it, except for he got positive COVID, which some teams, I guess, would allow you to continue racing if you're not showing symptoms, right?
If you're below a certain threshold of the amount of virus in your system, you can still. So there's two levels. I guess there's one level that you have to leave. Another level, you have COVID, but it's low enough that it's not deemed super transmissible.
Yeah.
Although his whole team, basically, they're down to two guys. They all got COVID. So it sounds like it was transmissible among the team.
I guess so. But the big question after Evenepoel's exit was, wow, okay, maybe he can do the Tour then because he didn't, expend so much energy and he's one of the top riders. Why wouldn't you not go to the Tour de France when you could have a chance to compete? But Patrick Lefevre is really keeping a tight rein on his schedule because he's still planning for him to race it next year in 2024, although I think he's ready. I mean, I don't know. Do the Belgians, would they have such huge expectations and put so much pressure on him? It seems like he's getting better with managing the pressure, but it's hard to tell, I guess, from the outside.
Yeah, they definitely got to put pressure on him every time he gets on the bike because he's their the bike cycling is such a popular sport in Belgium, and there's so many pressures put on any cyclist from Belgium who does halfway well, let alone someone of Evenepoel's talent and skill and ability. Yeah, I think that if he lined up for the Tour, their expectations, but he not only wins but wins going away. And
that's crazy though. It's really
crazy.
I mean, it seems like almost it would be an opportunity without pressure to race because it's his first one and it's in a big he's not wouldn't be necessarily the favorite because Jonas Vingegaard and Tadej Pogačar have been so dominant the last couple of years. I don't know. I would send him. I think it would be great because that's because I want to see it as a fan. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I can't say we've missed out on an exciting race here because here we are at stage 19, three riders so close. But the GC guys were probably, I don't know, I can't say probably, but they seem like they've been riding conservatively up until this week, kind of waiting because this week's so hard, and so they didn't really do anything spectacular and kind of a stalemate. And it's been fun to see all the breaks go up and then to see the guys that have consistently been in the breaks too, especially guys that maybe have been up there and haven't won, like Derek G, the Canadian, man, fantastic first Grand Tour for him, and he's up there again today, but I don't see him winning. Of course, we're cheering for Larry Warbass, our fellow Michigan Ajaccio rider, who's
had on the pack many times.
Yeah, he's got two teammates in there too, but
I was hoping he wouldn't have to work for his teammates. So,
right. Well, they have Prudhomme. Is he Christian Prudhomme's son? Nicholas Prudhomme? No. It doesn't show in there.
I think we heard if he was.
Yeah, Alex Baudin is the other Ajaccio rider. I don't know, but that looks like four of them. We're not going to finish the podcast in time to see what really happens today.
No, probably not. Although it will go over a couple of it's 48 kilometers left, and it'll go over a couple more climbs. So it'll be closer. It might be, we might know what's going to happen at least in the break if it has a chance to stay or not. So
Right.
7:13, it's
Yeah,
a huge gap
I
right now.
think that's a big chance right now, but we'll
Yeah, it
see.
was interesting though, too. Did you see Ben Healy was kept attacking with
Oh,
Pinot having to
Pinot,
chase
I
him
know.
down?
Yeah,
Yeah, that,
Pinot's got a big lead though. I don't think he could catch him. Could he? Could he catch him? I guess he
uh,
wouldn't try if he would, or is he just trying to yank Pinot's cord because he can get upset about the
yeah.
racing? I don't know.
Well, I know he could get it because he said if Derek G won all the climbs,
Oh yeah.
even at 66 points, he would take over the lead, and Pinot's got 227.
Ah,
So if Healy got up the road, and there's like 40 points for a Category 1 climb, so I think that and he's
yeah.
63 points
Pinot
now.
was yes 227 164.
So if Healy got off and got in that first group, and Pinot wasn't in there, and he took a couple of climbs, he could overtake him for sure. So
Well, it has been exciting King of the Mountain competition though. I guess because of that with
well, different
Thibaut
people in
Pinot.
different in there too. Yeah. So
Well, yeah.
Baez, Elo
It-
Moto
Commander,
rider
right?
was in the lead for quite a while and held on to it for a bit. So that was, it made it exciting too. And Contador is on the bike today, the follow vehicle for GCN too. So
Yeah,
he
with
was
his brother. Was it?
cheering on he was cheering on his team
Yeah.
that he's co-owns.
We could probably do the whole podcast just on all the things
What's
going on
what's
with
going on
with
today?
with the Giro, not even with today, but with I mean,
Oh, we have to talk about some other Americans who are winning too.
oh yeah, because Luke Lamperti is in
Yeah.
tour of Japan in
and Andrew the
August.
junior.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I saw Connor Schunk is also racing in the Tour of Japan. He's a
yeah.
former Evolo rider. Still pretty young. He's racing for it looks like a Belgian team, but there's a lot of only a few Belgians on the team. So, but it's always good to see these American names pop up on different teams that didn't really know that they're out there just trying to make their dream come true, racing on a foreign team somewhere and getting to do races around the world.
Yeah, it's funny because Luke Lombardi is based in Girona and he's racing in Japan right now. So
Yeah, and he's racing for a British team too.
Yeah, British team. Yeah,
Trinity, but yeah. He's got a lot of offers for World Tour teams.
he has 5 wins this year already too. So he's doing super well. Yeah.
Yeah,
He'll be on the World Tour team for sure. And he stagiaire with UAE Emirates, right? So
he's 20 years old, but so he's got all the big teams after him, like Ineos Grenadiers, Jumbo Visma, and UAE, of course. But I think EF Education is mentioned as well. So yeah, we'll see. That's exciting to see. Yeah, he won a couple stages there, Tour of Japan. He was the race leader. I think after the second stage win, he's since dropped back, but he's still in the points jersey. And it's one race like when we wake up, it's already finished, so you already see the results. Where these other races like the Giro now, we're talking about 9:40 Eastern Daylight Savings Time here in the United States. So yeah, like you said, we're going to see him go over a couple more climbs, but won't see the finish. Ineos Grenadiers with the pink jersey, Geraint Thomas, who is I thought he's turned 37. I guess it's his birthday yesterday. Yeah, so
yeah,
what a day wear your
it was tough.
pink
Tough
jersey. Yeah, he did.
And his racing style is not spectacular. It's it's just kind of like limit his losses and or don't have any losses and then do well in time trials. And it's a little so probably, unless he wins tomorrow, which he probably won't. I'm thinking. Do you think he'll win tomorrow in time trial?
Well, the last time trial he was just 1 second behind Remco Evenepoel. Right.
Yeah, but so I'm saying he may not win a stage of this Giro too, because Evenepoel in his last stage that he raced of the Giro did beat him by 1 second. And
in the time trial, yeah.
Yeah, it was a little weird because he didn't race that well the day before. He lost some time that day. He started off.
Geraint Thomas, you mean?
No, Evenepoel.
Oh yeah. Before this time trial,
he was 17 seconds up in the first time check, and then only won by a second. And people were like, "Something seems off with Evenepoel. He's not quite as strong." And then, of course, it was because he had. Although he said he wasn't really experiencing any symptoms from COVID, he definitely was affecting his performance a little bit because he wasn't nearly as strong then as he was at the very beginning.
Sure. Well, I could see Geraint Thomas holding on to win it. I could also.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, João Almeida was very impressive a couple stages ago where he attacked, which you never see him attack before. He's always been a follower, and he's more not an explosive climber, but more of the diesel kind of climbers, I guess you want to say, the more ones that don't like the change of pace, or more, they were like the more steady pulling, like Brandon McNulty, the American, that we have to mention his great stage run the other day too. Yeah,
and he won that in a sprint.
yeah. He everything came together perfectly for him to do that sprint. I watched it, not knowing who won. I know you watched it later that day too. I don't think you didn't know either, right? When you were watching it,
for sure. But I knew,
I knew you had an idea, probably. Yeah,
people were excited, so I figured a good chance he would have won. So,
right. Yeah, I tried to, when I mentioned it to you, not to
tip your hand too much.
So you should watch it, but because we're excited. Maybe anytime they at least have a chance to win, that they're up there at the exciting part of the race. Which, like today, we got Larry Warbass kind of. Well, he's in there with the group. There he is, right there.
Somewhat ahead right now.
Yeah, somewhat ahead right now. So I just have a chance for an American to win a stage. We're still very much favoring the U.S. riders. It gets us more excited, I guess, watching to see an American do well.
And if Larry would win, that would be more significant in his career. Even I think that
he's a contract year, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so, probably. Yeah. And he's he's a national champion, and he has definitely gotten some decent wins in his career. But McNulty is a different type of rider for sure than Larry. Larry's much more of a domestique kind of rider, an opportunist, where McNulty will get his chances to be team leader, even on a team like UAE for some races. So that's not really going to be Larry's position very often. So if Larry gets the win, then, that would be certainly the highlight of his career, no question.
Oh yeah, it'd be huge. So yeah, so we're cheering on Larry, but it's been pretty good, I think, overall for U.S. teams and riders, because Joe Dombrowski, I would have thought maybe he would be up there today because it's the last really chance. But
yeah, I understand he's been taking care of Cavendish in the mountains. He's been making sure that he gets through no problem and things like that too. So he's probably giving up some of his chances to have a stage win on some stages to get Cavendish to the finish. So I guess Cav's still there now.
Yeah, he's still got Saturday or Sunday, the Rome finish. So
you'll be there, right?
Yeah, right. I'm going. I'm leaving tomorrow. Be in Rome for the last day, which is kind of fun. I always wanted to see the last day in Milan, and didn't they finish quite often with a time trial on the last day, or sometimes?
They have sometimes.
They have.
I don't think
that's when Garmin won with the Canadian.
Ryder
Hazendahl, yes.
Yeah, he's over there right now too. I didn't really read the article, but I saw that he was over there watching this. I think once you win, you're in this group, because there's a group that I hear once in a while, tour riders who get to go and they're in a special club,
right?
And it takes care of them, because Lamont goes over there every year to be represented and that kind of stuff too. Well, last year he didn't because of his cancer, but so I think maybe he might be at the Giro too. So since Heisendahl is a former winner, he might be in that Giro winners club, and you get special attention when you go back, of course, and then I think you get access to things, and you're part of somehow a group. So
right. Well, yeah, I did want to mention somewhere along the podcast, because the Giro has had a lot of kind of one-off winners. Maybe it's been a race where different riders have won where you wouldn't have expected it, and sometimes it was their only Grand Tour win. As of so far, like Richard Carapaz, his win kind of was a surprise. There was kind of some tactics going on, but it's catapulted him into be a top GC rider. But that's still his only win. Tao Gegenhardt, he's got the one Giro win, and he was he was going really well until he crashed out for Ineos Grenadiers. So yeah, we lost two big top riders with Evenepoel and Gegenhardt. But then you've got like Ryder Hazendahl. That was his one Grand Tour win, which was a surprise that year too. And more recently, just last year, Jai Hindley. Is he going to win another Grand Tour? So
yeah, and I think even the Volta too. And once in a while on the Tour, but you want to say it's much less so on the Tour. I think maybe that's because
Geraint Thomas, he won the one Tour, and
winning this too. But I wasn't really surprised then either too that he won the Tour. He was definitely a contender going into it. So I think though too, the Giro and the Volta, the depth of people aren't quite as deep. Like you've got, two or three favorites, 4 or 5 maybe at the most favorites, but the tour you've got a dozen guys maybe who could on their best
Yeah,
year. And
almost all the top riders going to the tour are have that as their peak time, the best.
yeah,
Everyone's in best shape then.
yeah. And then, and again, if you're going for the win in the Giro, you're going to have your person in the best shape for the year at that point too, but you're just not going to have many guys in that situation. So, because even the years where people fall by the wayside, that you still have a worthy winner. I think of the not a worthy, no one's ever an unworthy winner,
Yeah.
but you have somebody who you would expect to have been one of the people you thought would win. So
Even Tom
um,
Dumoulin, he won one Giro, right? That's his only
yeah,
Grand Tour.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
it looked like Steven Kreuzreich was going to win the one year, which would have been his. I mean, he should have won that year. He just had a hunger bonk and a crash, right? He was
yeah. He was so cross-eyed. They said that he couldn't really stay upright on his bike, and he ran into a snowbank.
right. Otherwise,
So
he had that Giro wrapped up, didn't he? But
he was in a good spot at that
yeah,
point. But
but
yeah,
Nibali ended up winning that year. Then he came from like 5 minutes down. That was a big swing of time.
yeah.
So
Yeah. And Chris Froome the one year won by 5 minutes down too, going in with
yeah,
Simon.
Simon Yates was crushing it, just killing the like too much enthusiasm. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, they talked about that too with Evenepoel and Simon Yates, how he dominated the first part of the Giro that he was
Right.
in,
Oh
winning by
yeah.
so then just kind of fell off, and then Evenepoel came in so hot that they were making a little comparison, saying, "Hey, could this happen to Evenepoel?" Of course, we'll never know this
No.
year. Yeah, but that might be one reason again why he's not doing the tour this year, and maybe he'll do the Volta, but he's still learning about this kind of stuff. He's
Oh
so
sure.
talented. He's
Oh
an
yeah.
immense talent. But even with that much kind of that talent and really good managing and handling and that kind of stuff too, it still takes time to kind of learn how your body reacts to that 3 weeks of racing and how to manage your energy and race aggressively like he naturally wants to race aggressively, but also put yourself in a position where you can hold on and win for the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely a process for him, which he's got time to figure out. He's got the age on his side for sure, where he's going to be contending for a long time if he stays healthy. So you never know because things like Egan Bernal unfortunately happened, but he's gonna be racing the Dauphiné, and we might see that he's in pretty good form because he was running pretty well the last race that he did, didn't he? Was it the Tour Romandie?
Fifth or sixth, wasn't he? Was he fifth?
He was top 10, but yeah. So, but
Yeah.
getting back to the Giro for American fans, maybe EF Education,
Yeah.
Easy Post being an American team. We're excited to see Ben Healy, an Irishman, I mean, English speaker. Maybe sometimes we broaden our range to favor English speakers, but yeah, he's impressively, and actually his maybe his aggressiveness helped Brand McNulty somewhat in that race. Where so yeah, but
Yeah, he's definitely enthusiastic and wants to keep attacking, like he did today already,
right.
even taking off, too.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's been a fun racer to watch for sure.
yeah, and then
Back to sport, got to win
yeah,
too.
making a
So
score exactly. So it's success for several teams. I guess there's many teams that are missing out though, as usual. There's some teams that seem to come away, but Iola Kometo being not a world tour to get a stage is big, especially like we mentioned too, holding that KOM jersey with Diaz for a while. It was really good.
and that's even Basso and El Pastillo's teams, too. So there's two former Grand Tour winners, that are involved in that team too, which helps a little bit too. And
Yeah,
they're actually Italian registered, so because of Basso's connection, so they're Italian registered, so that helps getting into the Giro, I think.
right. I think maybe well, they did get a win, Bora Hansgrohe, right? They got
Yeah, that's Sprintman,
yeah.
German sprint.
Well, I'm missing his name. Pascal Ackerman. I was going to say him. He used to race for him, but he got the win for UAE Emirates. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean they've had a couple stage wins, so they've had a pretty successful Giro so far. I don't know. As Ineos hasn't gotten a win, they've just been carrying the yellow or the pink jerseys. So. But they're riding more like the Ineos of old in a way, getting on the front and not just crushing everyone too badly, but controlling the race. They've down to fewer riders, so they don't have as much power like they might have with them.
four, right? It's four riders, but three are in the top 10.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Jumbo Visma, still they still have their full complement, right? And Sepp Kuss,
yeah,
man, he's been
oh,
amazing,
Sep,
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Sep is I mean, he both kind of helped when the one day that Roglic was not doing so well, he guided him through there, and then yesterday set up the ability for him to attack and put some time in the giant league, and then it certainly made put the pressure.
João Almeida, you mean?
Or Jalmeda, I'm sorry,
Right.
Jalmeda, but put pressure then on G Thomas too. So
Yeah. Yeah. So that's exciting too. Also to see towards the end when you have the top riders for the overall and Sepp Kuss. So Eddie Dunbar, who's had also a really great Giro, is hanging pretty tough. Move up to fourth now, right? Eddie
yeah,
Dunbar for Jaco Alula. Yeah. So yeah, it's got a pretty exciting conclusion coming up with today's finish, and then the time trial. I don't know how much time do you think could swing in that uphill time trial. You could probably make up at least a minute, couldn't you, if you had a really good day? I mean, we saw it at the Tour. It would be ironic or interesting, wouldn't it be, if Roglic came in down like by a minute and then somehow was able to like he's really been focused on this particular time trial to take it back and win in a way that he lost the Tour.
yeah, that would be ironic for sure. That and yeah, you never know. And so Garrett's very good at time trialing.
Yes.
Yeah, uphill is not probably his best. But I don't know. I think it'll be tighter. My guess, just offhand, is going to be that I think that Roglic can bring back maybe some time, but not enough to take the win.
Right,
too. I think
yeah.
maybe the win might be taken by someone by surprise too. So it might be somebody who's a really good climber who's not had a chance to shine yet. And they might actually get the win.
This was a controversial course though, because it's so narrow and they weren't going to have the foul vehicles be able to go up, and they didn't want to
Just motorcycles instead of cars. Yeah.
But who was it Evenepoel that was complaining about it before? So
Yeah, I haven't heard much lately, so maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I looked up. It's Nico Denz. He's the one that won.
Nico Dens that won for.
I knew somebody.
He won two stages.
2 stages. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was. Oh yeah. We were talking about that at one time, weren't we? Just when we do talk sometimes besides the podcast. How powerful he was. Like closing down the riders.
He closed down and then won the sprint. Yeah. He chased. Yeah, right. We did talk about that one. Yeah. Yeah, because there was 3 guys out the front that looked like they had it wrapped up, and Nico in the interview he said that nobody was going to close that gap, and he said if he wanted a chance to win, he was going to have to close it. So he
did both.
He did both. Yeah, it's crazy because normally you think that the guy who closed down the gap has no chance to win. That's the standard knowledge. The standard thought on the things that if you close the gap down, you're doing it for other people, not for yourself. But at the end of a super long stage, everybody always says you don't know what's going to happen, and that was a perfect example of it was worth him putting himself out there. So I kind of like Jackson from EF who won Paris-Roubaix this year too. Alison Jackson,
right, because she did the bulk of the work, and she was still strong enough to win, and the Dutch rider crashed out too.
Stage 12 and in stage 14 for Nico Denz. Yeah.
Just thoughts run through my head though about like Geraint Thomas turning 37 and Primož Roglic is 33. Does it give him like hope in a way? Like if he doesn't win, like I still got 4 more years to get up to Geraint Thomas. I've still got a chance to win one of these Grand Tours again.
Well, and Roglic started his career later too. Thomas is racing since his junior year, so actually he's unusual because usually if you start as young as he did, I mean he was I think a junior British national champion and maybe even on the world's podium when he was a junior kid. So and actually it's funny because one of the guys who Tim Pigula, who is one of my athletes occasionally off and on, who's a really good British rider, raced with Geraint Thomas when they were Geraint was a junior and he was a U23 racer. And so Tim actually could beat Thomas at that point. Of course, he was a little older in that sweet spot years when you could another 23 rider could beat a junior rider, but still. So yeah, he's been racing for a really long time, and it was just kind of unusual where Roglic came in after a ski jumping career, and so a little bit later, and so maybe he does have more years even than
Well, I think I mean it probably depends more on the mental attitude at that time of your career, whether you want to keep putting all the energy and time that it takes to be a top professional
Yeah.
rider. Because Thibaut Pinot, who's going to retire after this year,
Yeah.
and he's he physically he could probably do pretty well for.
Oh yeah. Showing now he's doing it.
Yeah, even Valverde retired at 42 or whatever, and he was still one of the top. I mean,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big commitment, and not of course on yourself. I was going to say too, it's not just you too at a certain amount of points. Your family that has to be all in for you to be able to be weigh so much and to put all that energy into the training. Some people did. I guess you just know usually when it's time. And it's funny to hear, like, I remember George Hincapie on that talking about after the Flanders, listening to him doing the Sportive, and can't believe that he did that tough race for all those years. That yeah.
And George is still in really good shape too. So
yeah,
I mean,
and he's still in good shape to do that. So
which just shows the level of that too, because the gravel race I did with George this year, he was helping Enzo and the rest of the EF development riders who actually they're in Europe, because I was talking to somebody, Steve Sperry is a driver for them, and he just got back from driving those guys in Europe too. But anyway, George was still riding so strongly that he could be able to shepherd these people and to control the stuff. He's super strong. But for him to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I used to do this race because it seems so hard, in as good a shape as he's in now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's really scary.
It's such an incredible level. Also, I was listening to GCN the last couple of days. Seems like Jens Vogt is now in the. He was on the motorcycle doing commentary. You got Adam Blythe, but
first week,
yeah, because
and then now Contador now on the motorcycle. So Blythe has been on it, Contador's been on it, and that was Wiggins' spot, but
right.
Yeah.
Well, I talked to Jens like at the Frankfurt race. He was telling me, "Oh, I'm gonna be on the motorcycle." He said, "Yeah, with Wiggins." They never know. Like, he might not show up, or he might just go off because
people like him a lot. But I guess
yeah.
He's a little
Oh yeah, he said he had super great insights in that. But I think Jens is doing a pretty good job of he's pretty well balanced because he's super knowledgeable. He'll give his opinion, whether maybe what strategy, and then he likes to joke too. So
it's funny because when he was commentating with Sean Kelly the other day, he was like, "Sean, I can't believe I'm commentating with you. You were my hero. I had your poster up on my bedroom wall, and Sean's like, thanks for making me feel so old." And they know each other too.
Yeah.
So they said that they've worked together for years too. But apparently this was the first time that they were in the same commentary booth together, and so Jens was like a giddy kid, which is great. So he's also got that personality where he's such a fan of the sport that not only was he a good racer and his good insights, and it was interesting too because the break was trying to establish when he was in the motorcycle. Well, no, he was in the commentating booth. I think it was today, and he said if a guy like me came up in that break or was coming up, I would never wait for me because I know that I might win. so don't wait for me, So yeah. Or Magnus Cort was another person he said, and Magnus Cort was already in the break, too. So that was you're right. That kind of insight you don't get from somebody who wasn't in the position that. So Sean Kelly was such a dominant racer. His perspective is always different than everybody else's because he didn't win at will, of course. No. But when he retired, it was a 3-year rotating points calendar for number one. And he retired, and they said for the next 2 years, he'll still be number one because he had so many points, even if he didn't race it again. So that's a different perspective. And then you get McEwen, who is a great sprinter, of course. So having Jens there is also another perspective that we can gain a lot of insight from.
Oh yeah, it's always great. I think when the announcers have the enthusiasm of the sport and their perspective from racing in it. Juan Antonio Fleca, I thought he always brought a lot of energy and enthusiasm. Yeah. Like, wow, he's really excited. I don't know where he went, but I always enjoyed his commentary.
I think he still does some stuff for GC because I think I've heard him referenced on GC still, so maybe he's just taking a step back from he's involved in something else a lot too. But during this year, I know I've had them reference him as being somehow associated still with GCN.
I'm just checking on the break now. They've got not quite to the top of the third to the last climb. The last climb is kind of broken up into two climbs to the finish, but it looks like Larry is 26 seconds back in that group. And you think that Larry would be climbing as well as Derek G or Magnus Cort. I mean, Derek G's been really good, strong, but as far as just being a climber. Yeah. Carlos Verón is up there, Michael Hepburn, and Santiago Buitrago. Who?
Larry might be doing work for his teammates too, so he might have expended more energy up to this point too.
Yeah, but none of his teammates made it to the front. Yeah, so he could
Which is
be.
the worst case scenario. You
Yes.
work for your teammates and then they'll do, yeah,
Yeah,
which happens
but
unfortunately. So we see that happening, especially with Bahrain victorious this year. We've seen them do some work in the Giro and not really be able to reach.
yeah. Well,
So,
Santiago Butaga is only 12 minutes down, so he's like the best placed rider. So, in some respect, maybe he's the strongest of them all. That he's been able to consistently say that high up.
so far, yeah,
But he could
yeah.
be tired. So, see, that's what's so great about, I guess, the last week is that anything can happen because you don't know how you're going to respond each day. Like João Almeida looking so strong, and then the next day not as much. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
it's still strong enough to still be in there, which is nice. It didn't
yeah,
totally collapse, So today, I mean, today's going to be, two battles maybe. I mean, it's hard to say. What's their lead now? Is it 7:25? Yeah, 7:25
yeah.
right now. So if
Plus,
that's enough for them to hold on, someone to get the win, then that's one battle, of course. But then, like you said, it's hard to say because, is someone take a risk? Probably the person who's the least good at time trialing. But then, of course, if you're least good, you might want to save more energy to
yeah,
do a better time trial.
yeah. But Almeida, Thomas, and Roglic are all very good time trialists.
Yeah.
So
But it's uphill, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, I would say the biggest chance for someone to do well would be somebody who's in that 5, 6, 7, 8 spot. They should risk it all.
yeah. I mean, it was not an uphill time trial, but it was a time trial at the end of the Giro. I thought it was 2017, but maybe I saw 2019 that Chad Haga, American, won a stage with the time trial. So
Yeah.
I thought it was the same year though that he helped Dumoulin win.
Oh,
But
that would have been 19. That was
no, 2017, because I was there at the Stelvio, Paso Stelvio.
We can check that out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really enjoying the Pro Cycling Stats live coverage now because it's almost too much information. It's got everything put up there, and it's a good way to follow because I used to go to Steep Hill and follow
Yeah.
on or
Oh,
cycling news. I used to follow
so
live on cycling news. I
Yeah.
didn't pay to continue. I guess maybe that's why I like Pro Cycling Stats because it's still free now. You don't have to subscribe to it to get that information.
So it was 2019. Chad Haga
It
got
was. That's
that.
what I saw. 2019 because it was 2021 that Joe Dombrowski won a stage, and then it was 2023. Now this year that Brandon McNulty. So every other year we're getting an American winning a stage at the Giro the last few years.
It's interesting too because Chad Haga's top results, he had a stage of the Giro d'Italia in 19, and then a stage of the Tour of Elk Grove in 2013, which was weird. It was a really weird little UCI race that they had in Elk Grove, Illinois. It was all dead flat, and they had a couple of circuit races and then a crit, and then somehow it got UCI status for a couple of years. So yeah, a little craziness.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about the other races going on in the Giro because I wanted to try to cover everything
Oh,
not everything, but
well,
talk about
we had some women's races going on too. So
I'm sorry, we had that.
had some big women's races,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Cole Eigert's made her return and made a bit of a splash too. So
Right, yeah, she got some more podiums. The Thüringer race has been dominated by SD Works, but not
Oh, yeah.
not. I mean, other riders within the team are getting a chance to.
But I mean, Bullrings, and of course,
Lorena
yeah,
Vebes, yeah.
yeah. So
We
yeah,
got the Tour of Norway starting today. I saw Chad Haga. Speaking of Chad Haga, I follow him on I follow a lot of people on social media, but some I guess I see more than often than others. But I saw he's up in Norway and they have a prologue today, so looks like it
for you
goes
and Howard
from
Hill.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the International Lotto Thüringer Ladies Tour, Stage 4, just finished. Another SD Works. Lanika Eneken. They've
They're so
got.
stacked.
Wow.
And they won the team time trial too for that race too. So
Yeah, it's crazy.
yes, they're just yeah. Yes. They're the super team right now for sure. They're they're not winning everything, but they're winning a lot.
Yeah, so Misha Bredevold is leading now for SD Works. Another rider that we haven't followed her so closely before. Lorena Vebes is second, 10 seconds back. And then Laura Kopecky who is one of their top riders. She's in third overall. She hasn't won a stage there, but she's been consistent. So yeah, it's pretty dominant for sure. Which, there's other women's races going on, and I guess you pick which ones you're going to go to, and not as many that maybe top riders are there, but so yeah. I saw also social media just thinking about other racing going on. That did Tom Pidcock win a World Cup mountain bike race? Did you see that?
He won short track, and I don't know if he won the cross country race too. But yeah. He was the round one, I think, of the World Cup this year, something like that. Yeah,
I imagine he'll be back at the Tour, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool in a way. You can have a Tour de France rider who won Alpe d'Huez last year that's out there winning mountain bike races. Well, I mean, he won the Olympic gold medal, of course, but still, I mean, wow.
That's kind of tough for him too, because when they go to World Championships in Scotland this year, they'll have both mountain biking and road cycling, and it's a really tightly packed schedule. So he probably will have to choose. He'll be one of those riders that has to choose between the events too. So there's a few riders who excel in track and road, or mountain bike and road, or so that they're not going to be multiple world champions or on the podiums or have a chance at those things like they normally would in a year where they're spread out more.
Yeah, I wonder if Peter Sagan still thinks that he made the wrong decision to do the mountain biking that year in Rio Olympics, because a rider like Greg Van Avermaet ended up winning, and Sagan probably would be like that
same much of a rider.
I think I saw that they compared Luke Lamperti to a kind of a Greg Van Avermaet type rider.
Yes, I did see
that. Yeah, that he can get over the hills, but he's got a very fast finish. I was thinking maybe he's even more of a sprinter, but I guess he's.
Well, I talked to him last year. I worked with him at the national championships. He was one of the riders we took care of, and he was very happy to have won the crit again, but almost. That wasn't even secondary, third day, fourth. He was way down the list too, because he was a defending crit champion, and he said his real goal for the week was to win the road race. And that's got not a really long hill, but it's a short, steep hill, and you have to hit it many times. And he considered himself certainly one of the favorites for that race too. So I think that I think he's not a huge rider. He's not a spindly climber by any means, but he's also not a a guy who can't climb for sure too. And like we said many times, these spinners can climb well too. But I think he's better than that though. Even I think he's,
no, that's exciting. He's 20 years old, so
20, yeah.
We're back talking about Luke Lamperti again. I wonder if he's coming back again to do nationals this year. So
he still doesn't have tour commitments or anything.
Yeah.
So, and he's on the same team, Trinity. So yeah, maybe I will not be there this year to help out. So I'll be in Michigan during that time period, but I think I'm doing coast to coast that same weekend.
Yeah, let's talk about you for a few minutes. I don't want to forget talking about you. Just this past Monday, assault on Mount Mitchell. It's not considered a race, though, right? It's more of a ride.
Well, it's like a sportive, yeah. So it's a race,
but it's like could be like a grand final. But of course, anytime cyclists line up, it's a race.
Yeah, it's not sanctioned. So it is insured by USA Cycling, but it's not sanctioned by them as a race. But it's a 600 person
open cat. I mean, did they break? They don't. I mean, did they award?
No,
anything.
Just on the website shows who won.
Yeah,
in the top facings and stuff too.
And you won. You won. You beat everyone. That's amazing. 61 years old. I mean, aren't you? You're crushing souls. Either that or you're inspiring people. I don't know which.
Well, it is funny because like in the pack at one point, someone came up to me and we were riding to Merriam, which is relatively flat. It's a few small hills in it, and he said something like, "I like you so much," or something like that. I'm like, "What?" He goes, "How old are you?" I go, 61. And he goes, "Yeah, that's great." And I said, "How old are you?" He goes, 33.
Wow.
So. Yes, people know that I'm old and that I do okay. And there was one guy.
You do okay. You do much more than okay, Randy.
So last year I won another one of these kind of races called the Hot Dog or these kind of events, where again it's the same thing. It's like open, just come and race, and so many people are not racing. Many people are just doing these events just to finish. But there are the first 30 people, 40 people, whatever, that are serious about racing. But one called Hot Dog and apparently I won that one last year too. So and this guy who was with me, but one of the last guys who were with me, who was racing, came up to me in Mitchell and he said, "I just want revenge for Hot Dog It." And he was joking, but
Yeah.
somewhat serious, you know. And he was one of the last guys with me too. And then when I dropped him, I'm sure he was not about that. But then it's funny because that guy and I both raced at the Ring of Fire races on Wednesday, and that's a much different type of race. The Mount Mitchell is much more in my wheelhouse, where it's 103 miles with over 10,000 feet of climbing, and I just ground people off my wheel. We went a little slower than usual into Marion, so I was pretty fresh, and it was cooler temperatures, so it was really good for me. And then Carrie, my wife, fed me at Marion a couple bottles, so that was nice to get a feed and have all the liquid I need. And then on the long climb, just got narrowed down, and then there was two guys in my wheel for a long time, and I dropped them. And then there was one guy at the front, and I caught him, and he was obviously suffering some, not terribly so, but he was spinning, but he wasn't like bonked, but spinning for sure. And so I went right by him. And then, of course, I didn't know after that I wasn't getting time checks because there's no one in front of me. So I got time checks up to the point I passed the guy, but I didn't know. So I just kept going hard thinking someone could be recovering and coming back up behind me. But I ended up winning by over 7 minutes, almost 8 minutes. So, so it was great to get the win. I was shooting for top 5 because I'd been 6th place twice, but so to get the win was a huge bonus. So pretty happy about that. But then on the Wednesday, I raced with the Ring of Fire, and I was even 6th place in the A race there, which is mostly all, Cat 1-2 guys. And so I was happy just to be able to know that I had some speed in my legs as well as some climbing and endurance, because next Saturday I go to Unbound. And, I'll race.
It's already next Saturday?
Yeah, a week from.
Today, May 26th, 2023. Yeah. Like I said, episode 325. So it'll be the first Saturday in June then?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's coming up. Well,
I haven't been riding my gravel bike at all. I just rode it yesterday on the gravel for the first time. Geez, I don't know, maybe 2 months, something like that. A long time, a month and a half. So I'm going to spend a lot of time on it. Although it's supposed to rain, torrential rain, in the next 3 days here after today. So I'm supposed to do 8 hours tomorrow on the road bike to get my last long ride in. And then I was going to spend all the other time riding gravel bike, but I might be spending time indoors. It's supposed to be nice weather right now. They're saying in Emporia, Kansas, for Unbound next week.
That's what I was just going to ask you, if you looked ahead already to the weather there. So
it looks like weather on either side of it. So hopefully it'll be in the 80s and dry, which is a little hotter than I'd like. But
of course, being in good shape is super key to do a 200-mile race, to be able to do the whole thing. But Unbound's one of those races that luck plays a lot of. It's like the Paris-Roubaix maybe of gravel racing, because you're more than likely maybe to suffer some kind of mechanical or flat. So you don't have really the best record of equipment dealing. Is that fair to say? You've had a fair amount of. Are you focusing as much as what you can do as far as be prepared mechanically as well as physically for this race?
Yeah. I am. I just got new wheels, so I got some new i9 wheels, which I'm really stoked about. They're a lot lighter than my wheels that came with my bike, my Ibis Haka MX gravel bike, which is what I ride. And it had stock wheels with it, and I've been racing on those, and I've dented them up pretty badly, and the bearings are going bad. So I bought some i9 wheels, which are based here in Asheville, so it's exciting to ride those. And they're lighter for sure, so the bike feels great. But I also got some.
I think we need to contact them for a sponsorship.
You never know. Yeah.
Write that out on your to-do list. I know you.
But then I bought some tires that were recommended to me, and my mechanic. So he said that they were tight, hard to get off and on, and so that made me worried a little bit right then, because if I would flatten the race, of course I'll have darts with me and CO2s, and I think I'm actually going to bring some extra sealant. But if I had to put a tube in, it may be hard to do with those tight tires. So they're supposed to be great tires for the conditions and everything too. But I think about it for sure. So Gillard Adi, one of my athletes I'm doing this with, he won the 60 plus one year. He's always up there for sure. And he said he's only flatted, of the 5 years, only flatted 1 year. I think he flatted 5 times that year. So I do worry about that a little bit. Yeah, so I'm going to have spare wheels, I think. So Gillard's wife, Lynn, is going to be our support crew, and she can meet us at 2 different rest stops, one at like 78 and one at 145 or something like that. I'm going to have wheels that she'll have with her in case I would need to change wheels even.
Oh, wow.
Maybe tires and, different things. So in case something catastrophic goes by, if I can at least make it to there, then I can swap out things. Because I thought if I flatted in Mount Mitchell, I won by, like I said, over 7 minutes. If I would have flatted there, this is the first year I've ridden tubulars tire, or not tubulars,
Tubeless?
tube tire.
Oh,
No,
tube
I actually
tires.
tube.
Oh,
Yeah. So I brought my pit stop, in case because normally I'm riding so-ups, and pit stop is all you have, and so you don't need to carry a seat bag because it wouldn't do you any good. But this time I carried my seat bag and pit stops. I figured pit stop I could at least get rolling again right away, and then if I had to, I could change a tube. But if I was on the climb, even losing 5 minutes, you could still maintain your place, or maybe not lose a ton of time depending upon where you are. But this year, theoretically I could have flatted, taken 5 minutes to change a tube,
sure.
and then still would have been able to still win. So at Unbound, it's the same kind of thing. You want to be, you could lose 10 or 15 minutes, in a changing things or fixing things, and still maybe do really well, because the gaps, are pretty far. Sometimes I was looking at how the 55-59 race went, how the 60 plus race, which is the category I'm in this year, and sometimes, especially in the 55-59, there was like 20 minutes, a half hour between
big gaps. Yeah.
And sometimes it's similar, maybe 10 or 15 minutes in the 60 plus, but they seem a little more tightly packed in 60 plus than the 55-59. But that's what I'm racing against. My mindset, I want to be racing with the 55-59 guys, the top guys, and then I, of course, would win the 60 plus if that's the case. So it's, I've never done it before. Who knows? Maybe I'll crash and burn. It's it's gonna be like
there were
maybe 12 hours possibly. So it's a long race.
Yeah, there were a lot of gravel races going on last weekend, like all over the country, like multiple. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I guess if you want to put on a gravel race, it's a good time to do it, isn't it? To get people to come that are preparing for the Unbound, which is like the unofficial World Championships of gravel, right? In a way, it's been like the premier gravel races.
Yeah, it's one of the premier gravel races in the world. So it's funny because
now we do have national and world championships in gravel, which we didn't used to. So
yeah, which I'm planning to do too. But yeah, it's funny because I was like at Mount Mitchell, I was talking to people about what was coming up, and it was Unbound gravel, and a lot of people were like, "What? Huh?" they weren't in tune with the gravel world at all. It was all road stuff. But yeah, it's a big deal for gravel racers for sure.
All right.
And it's good also too, just to know, getting the win at Mitchell. I mean, it's fun at 61 years old to be able to win an open race like that too, and not just
for sure.
And then that's around here it's a big one. So I was on TV, my neighbors and stuff, and other people.
You have to send me the link,
or
you had the link, but I can put it maybe in the description as we do our podcast, and put it on our Warren Cycling Podcast YouTube channel too. So I guess I can add it in the notes for the podcast too, if I remember.
Yeah, even my neighbors who don't know anything about cycling were coming up to me and saying, and hey, I'm proud of you, or congratulations. I was walking the dog yesterday, and someone ran to cut up with me with their dog and saying, hey, congratulations on winning that race too. And she doesn't know anything about bike racing, but she just saw me on TV, so that was kind of fun too.
Excellent. All right, well, I'm gonna wrap this up pretty soon. I've got to take my once in a while dog barking here that you might hear Maui to the vet pretty soon, and we've got the rest of the Giro to watch today because it's down to 29 kilometers to the finish.
Yeah, 29K to go, and the lead's 6:46, so it's still looking good for the people out front.
Right, and fortunately Larry's not one of them right now.
They were showing them descending pretty quickly.
Yeah,
and they say that the gap's 38 seconds, but they also have question marks next to it.
Right.
So it's showing them right now. Actually, they're on the screen. So hopefully they'll catch back on, and then we'll see. But of that group, I don't know, Magnus Cort, Derek G just took the top mountain points again at the last spot. So yeah, Carlos Verona, Michael Hepburn. Yeah, Santiago Brutago. He's a good climber for sure too, and he's sitting 12 minutes back, so he's made up 6 minutes right now. But who could win from this group? Yeah,
that's who I'm gonna tip right now, but we'll see. I don't think Bahrain Victorious has had much success yet, have they?
They got one win.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? I was scanning through the list.
Yeah. Well, I could mention. Yeah, I wasn't following the Giro as much for a short time because I was doing my own bike tour. Almost No Hills did the very popular, one of the I think that's probably one of the better bike tours you can do is to ride from Germany along the Danube, Passau, Germany. You could ride to Vienna, which we did in 6 days, pretty leisurely time to look around, although the weather wasn't as ideal as it could have been this time of year. But you can continue on to Bratislava and go on into Hungary to Budapest and as far as you want. But it's a very well-marked trail. You can ride on either side of the river. It's marked out. I used a combination of an actual map book, a map, reading the signs, and then using downloaded files from Komoot, which they uploaded directly to my Garmin 530 without me even knowing it. I was like looking all of a sudden the courses because I'd put them on Komoot on the
Somehow, or
yeah, I guess I haven't connected because whatever Garmin uploads it goes to Komoot too. I don't use it too much, but just it's a European German based maybe mapping for. But yeah, when I'd created the files and when I looked at my courses on my Garmin, they were there without me having to.
yeah. It could maybe cover up your folder on the Garmin, but yeah, it's nice to have.
Oh yeah, because sometimes it's difficult to
manage too. So
yeah, but yeah, no, it was a great tour. We had unfortunately some headwind and rain along the way that did dampen it a little bit, but the scenery is so amazing that even in rain, it's not bad. It's only when it rains heavy and you get totally soaked and it's windy that you start to
cold.
Yeah, start where you get cold, like yeah. But yeah, no, I highly recommend that route. I've been along the Rhine's pretty good route too. And is that call coming through there?
That's me. You hear something?
That you? Okay.
No.
No, I got here's something. I got too many devices going. I've got my iPad mini over here with the phone. I've got my old computer with the pro cycling stats going on. What's going on? I've got the computer that I'm talking to you on through Skype. That we mostly use Skype, and then I have my phone too. So that was 4 devices. Too many things synced up. Yeah.
2 computers and a phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked it up too. Jonathan Milan, of course. He got.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's wearing the Ciclo. What's the yeah, for sure. Good success for Bamari Victorious. They're not. I mean, Damiano Caruso has been up there pretty consistent. He's been a podium finisher right before. But
yeah, he's 5th right now. So so he's the guy though that maybe you should attack today to try and get back time because Dunbar is the one that's kind of making the move up and just passed him yesterday. And so if he wants to hold him off, maybe he needs to make a move.
Right. Yeah. All kinds of excitement there in Italy, and finally the weather's gotten better. So because, as I said, it was kind of rainy and cold and windy.
Yeah.
When we were in Austria, it was pretty much the same in Italy for several days where they had not good weather at all. So.
Hey, so Larry Warbucks has regained the lead part of the group race too. So he's up there now in the lead group with a chance for a stage win again.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll be cheering on Larry for the rest of the podcast, but we're going to right now. You got anything else for the other racing? I don't know if we've touched on a few things.
Nicholas Prudhomme, I checked. I don't see any references.
Yeah, I couldn't see it either. So he's got the name, but it's at the Giro. He's not at the Tour. So birthdays? Ready for birthdays?
G. Thomas yesterday. We missed that one, so 37. But today,
pretty good list here today. There's an American that's number 7 on the list of the pro cycling stats. So Andy Bishop, 58. He's just a little over a year older than I am. So some of these riders look and think, they're getting old, but wait, that's my age. So he won the Herald Sun Tour in '95 overall and staged at the Tour du Pont. So he raced for a lot of the different top American teams. Motorola being maybe the biggest name team in 91 and 93, but Coors Light, Saab, Mercury, Outdoor Life Network. PDM, though. He raced for PDM at the beginning. Wow. Yeah. And then 7-Eleven in 1990, so.
He's a little bit bigger rider, too, so they don't have his stats for weight.
Sprint was his best.
Yeah.
So, Andy Bishop. But let's look at the very top of the list. We have Mikel Nieve, 39. So he's only 2 years older than G. Thomas, but he just retired. Looks like.
Let's see. I thought he's racing.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's a sports director at Equipo Karen Pharma.
yeah.
So, yeah,
He just retired last year. In the last year, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
three times Giro stage winner.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and then and also won the stage of the Volta, and he was KOM of the Giro d'Italia in '16. So he's very good quality climber for sure.
Right. Well, Evita Muzic is second on the list, just 24.
Mm.
Wow.
A lot of points for 24-year-old.
Yeah, she's she won a stage at the um, Giro Feminin. What do they call the women's version of the Giro? Usually Giro Rosa, right?
Giro Rosa.
Yeah, Giro Rosa. Well,
Yeah.
it's really Giro Italia Internazionale Femminile. But
Yeah.
Giro Rosa is what we shorten it
Yeah.
to, right? Yeah. No, she won a stage there in 2020. So she's
She was
been a national champion of France too.
21 years old at that time.
Wow. Yep, right
Yeah.
for FDJ Suez. One of the top teams in the women's pro peloton. Number 2 on the list. That's pretty amazing. A 24-year-old.
Yeah. Alexei Morkov, you see that? Who's next on this list there too, but he's not Morkov's brother or anything.
Not
because-
Mikhail Morkov.
Yeah, so he's
Morkov.
because
Yeah.
he's Slovenian. So, but he's a Russian rider, so he's underneath the blank flag.
Ben
Yeah.
Frederick, American, 34. I don't see any results. Not a big a list of riders that accumulated tons of points on today's
Today's birthday, yeah.
today's birthday list on the 26th of May. So
Paula Finley is a Canadian rider. So
Brooke Blackwelder, 56. Happy birthday. Matthew Shriver, Maxwell Dirtschi.
Laurel Quinones.
All right, quick birthday list today. All right, well, you've always got tons of stuff to do. I'm packing up my stuff for the Giro. I did not get a press pass. I couldn't figure it out this year. I don't know why the Giro's been a tough nut to crack for me to get in to their. I logged into this media thing and I couldn't find. So anyway, I was going as a fan. That means I could do video because if I get a press pass as a photographer, I only do still. I can't do any video. So
you're not allowed to, or
no, I can't. You're not allowed. I mean, I'd have to ask for a video pass. So.
Well, you can check and see. So I'm not sure what the whole story is with Max this year because our friend Max Ellie, he said that he may be in Rome, maybe not. He last couple of years he's been working for the Italian Sports Bureau doing the e-bike ride race before. So I think it's still a race this year. And so I thought maybe that wasn't happening because he's not doing it this year. But I see it is happening. He's not doing it. So that's one of the times when it's tough. We communicate pretty darn well, even though he knows almost no English, I know almost no Italian. We used to get a lot of communication, no problem. But getting the nuances of what's going on with RAI and his involvement with Giro d'Italia and the Italian Sports Bureau and all that kind of stuff, that's a little harder to get that kind of communication. But he said he might be in Rome, so maybe without the press pass, or he was his best young rider for the Giro, 3rd place overall. So maybe he's in some kind of access for being. He didn't win, but he's there too. So maybe you could hang out with Max a little bit too. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, it looks like pretty good weather. Maybe a chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon. I haven't really looked at the course yet, where it comes into Rome. If there's any place to see it more than once. If you really want to see a finish, you got to be right there early on the line as a fan and just stay there all day. And since it's not like, I guess it would be a pretty big deal, Cavendish to win a sprint in his last year of racing, but I don't know if I want to dedicate all that just for one quick sprint. But anyway, I want to just soak up the atmosphere. I'm sure it's always interesting in a big city like Rome or Paris when a big race that we're super fans are all excited about. That I'm sure on the plane going over. 90% of the people don't even know that that's going on. Right. And then also people in the city like, why are these streets closed? They won't know. So.
Right. Yeah, I think there's certainly more enthusiasm for the race in there than would be in the United States. But at the same time, right? Yeah. So we went into Grenoble one time. We watched the tour in '88, and we asked in Grenoble, and we said, "Hey, where's the tour?" And people were like, "What?" it was on the other side of town. So on the side of town, we came into the east, I think, and it was on the west side. But it was like they didn't. People there, it's a big city and stuff too. A lot of people didn't even know that it was happening. So.
Yeah, well, the one thing Joe Dabrowski though thought he liked set apart the Giro as the best tour for him was that the Giro fans, are more knowledgeable and passionate about the sport than maybe at the Tour, who's just it's more of a cultural thing in a way. The Tour de France, and they don't really know as much detail like the Italian Tifosi fans. So that could possibly be, but yeah. We'll
Larry Warwas is attacking on the last climb. He's off the front solo.
Is he really? All right, good deal. All right, well let's tune in and watch that and talk as soon as we can again. Hopefully, much sooner than we have spread. I'm not vacationing in June, not till July. So.
Yeah, I leave from Unbound on Wednesday and then get back the next Monday and then leave again the next Wednesday to go to Michigan to do the World's Qualifier on coast to coast. So I'll be traveling, but certainly have access to computers and we can do. I'm sure we can get.
Yeah, I didn't even bring my computer. Of course, on a bike tour, I didn't tried to limit my weight. I didn't bring the computer. So
yeah, the phone. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, great to see you and talk to you.
Podcast, I think, from my phone in a car. I was driving to some podcast. Yeah. So it is.
You can do a lot with modern technology. So congratulations again on your assault win, and great to see you. Have a good weekend, Memorial Day weekend. So, all right.
Have fun. Have a safe trip to Rome and have fun at the Giro.
All right. Thanks. Bye now.
Bye.